Hello, YouTube. This is Real Manhood Ministries. Real manhood is only in Jesus Christ. I'm on here to share how the Christian women in hip hop. I've been listening to a lot of the Christian women in hip hop. Their testimonies are very encouraging. The Christian women in hip hop's testimonies are very encouraging. There's a lot of Christian women in hip hop who haven't always walked with Christ. I've been listening to a lot of the Christian women in hip hop. Their albums are very encouraging. Colossians 1:13, for he rescued us from the dominion of darkness and brought us to himself, and dominion from darkness brought us to his kingdom. So the Christian women in hip hop sharing their testimonies how Jesus has rescued them. All the glory go to Jesus. And I'm not a fan of nobody's. I support the Christian women in hip hop too, who have a relationship with Christ because they represent Christ, because they've been set free. That's why I listen to it. The Christian women in hip hop, their testimonies are encouraging. How God rescued them from the dominion of darkness and brought them into the light. So I'm checking out for some of these Christian women in hip hop. Some of these women's testimonies are so encouraging. There's a lot of godly women in hip hop who haven't always been following Jesus, and I've listened to a lot of their testimonies. It's encouraging. Hip hop wasn't always like it was, but there is some transparent, godly women who have been changed by God. They haven't always followed Christ. I've listened to their testimony, so I'm supporting the Christian women in hip hop. Okay, thank God for the men and women, the men who've been set free. But what about the Christian women in hip hop who've been transformed by God? The women who haven't always been saved. There are some women out there that are rough around the edges that God didn't change. Okay, that's who gonna be able to reach some of these women out there in the streets. A lot of these women in the streets want somebody that can relate to them. When that Christian woman shares, "Hey, I haven't always followed Christ," and she share her testimony, she could help that lady on out there on that trap queen, because they want somebody they can relate to, somebody that's been down that same path. Okay, and there's a lot of Christian women in hip hop that I listen to that encourage me. See, when you sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ on the streets with people, they want to know where God brought you from. How can you share something with them if it haven't happened in you? Then they'll know, wow, if Jesus Christ can do it in them, he can do it in me. The Christian women in hip hop encourage me. I'm talking about the women who haven't always been saved, but they're sharing their testimonies. And it's a whole lot of Christian women in the hip hop music industry who have a real testimony how God saved them. And I am supporting that. I'm supporting the Christian women in hip hop. I'm encouraged. They're not no Christian rappers or CHH. They don't have none of them labels. It ain't about no labels. Okay? Them Proverbs 31 women who are representing Christ. They haven't always followed Christ, but guess what? They share their testimony, how Jesus Christ rescued them. So I'm encouraged by the Christian women in the music industry who have a relationship with Christ, who's standing on God, who haven't always been saved. Okay? They don't all have a church background, but guess what? God didn't come for people that got it all together. So I'm encouraged by the Christian women in hip hop who have been changed and transformed by Jesus Christ. That's encouraging to me. I'm going to continue to support the Christian women in hip hop, the ones who share how God has changed them and, share their testimony, how they've been rescued. Colossians 1:13, you rescued us from the dominion of darkness and brought him to himself, and he delivered them from darkness and brought them to himself. God rescued them. The women in the Christian hip hop music industry who's been rescued from the darkness and brought into God's light. I've listened to their testimonies. The Christian hip hop is encouraging. It's deeper than rap. It's deeper than music. Seems like all they rap about is testimony, testimony, testimony. It's how God changed me. A real testimony comes when God changed you. I'm encouraged. It's deeper than rap. It's deeper than music. But I thank God for the godly women who are sharing their testimonies, reaching out to some of these young girls. There is some good stuff out there to listen to. The Christian hip hop is just full of testimonies, full of real people who've been changed. And off the microphone, they'll share their testimony with you. So that's what the Christian hip hop is really about. You got real people who have been changed. And I be bumping the godly women in Christian hip hop. I be listening to that. I be listening to their testimonies. I be listening to their testimonies. I really do. So I'm encouraged. I'm very encouraged. This is Set Free from the Trap Ministry, where real freedom is only in Christ. Bye bye.